almost got the music timed perfectly. I got to do a little bit of editing on there. At any rate, I want to welcome our audience. For those that are watching, we're live streaming on 3 networks this morning. My name is Brenda Meller, and this is my show I call Enthusiastically Self-Employed. And I'm very delighted because I have Dr. Preeti Jha joining us today. Hey, Dr. Preeti, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm so excited to be here today.
Yeah, likewise. And for those that are joining us in the audience, whether you're watching us live or in the playback, or maybe listening to us in the podcast later, we'd love to hear from you. If you're on LinkedIn, drop a comment below. That lets us know that the live stream is picking up, and that way we can see who's in the audience with us here today. For those that have been following my podcast and my Zoom and things like that for a while, you'll know that I've been having some audio issues lately with my Zoom, specifically my microphone. And it's been carrying over to my podcast. I think I got the issue fixed. So if you're watching today, let me know if you can tell the difference in the audio. Is it sounding better to you? I think I've got it all resolved. And Preeti and I, we came in the pre-show and we kind of did a quick tech run through. So you should be hearing both of us loud and clear. But it makes me feel better, Preeti, when I hear from the audience. It lets us know the live stream is picking up. So I want to just encourage our audience, don't be shy. If you're interested in joining in on the conversation at any point throughout, you'll have the opportunity to do so. All right. And today we're going to be talking about strength strategies for women age 40 plus. And you might go, wait a minute, Brenda, you're on a professional networking platform. Why are we talking about that? And this is intentional. When I came across Preeti, we're going to talk about how we know each other in a minute, but I was thinking about the fact that when I was back in my corporate career, I remember there was a point after my kids were born and I started to feel a little softer and not as great about myself. And I started getting back into fitness again. And I started working out at the gym and getting back. And then I felt like my career success and my physical, my mental well-being was all related. So when I started to feel stronger and healthier, I started to feel more successful in my role. And I know this is not just me. So with that said, Preeti, you and I, we were talking in the pre-show. We met, I guess, originally through Amy Porterfield's community, Digital Course Academy, Momentum. And then I think we really started talking when we both joined Masha Goen's program, which is called Hey to 100K. Now, I know a little bit about you, but for the benefit of our audience, those that are watching live, why don't you take a minute and tell us about yourself? Tell us your name, what do you do, and who do you help?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Preeti. I'm a physical therapist and women's strength coach. And I help women over 40 or in perimenopause, menopause, to get stronger, build strong bones, build strong muscles with or without anything that's going on in your lives. It could be injuries, it could be hormonal issues, it could be just low energy, or just life. Like we are so busy, we just want someone to just watch us and do things the right way, because a lot of us is actually involved in so many different things we can't find time for ourselves. So I am the support system that you need without hesitation in this phase of life.
That's wonderful. And we're going to have a great conversation here today. You can see the topic that's up on screen: strength strategies for women age 40 plus who are self employed. If you fit in that category, stick around and listen for the whole thing. And even if you don't, stick around because this might be something that you can share with others as well. And you might even be able to pull some of our the discussion points into what you're doing right now here as well. So I want to start, Preeti, by just asking the question, why is it important to focus on strength if we are women age 40 plus? What would you say?
One of the most important thing is our hormones are changing. Our hormones really start to change as we are in our 30s, 35s, and anytime after that. The peak hormonal age is like 22 to 30, and then everything is downward. And the main hormone, if nobody's ever heard that, is estrogen, which is really out of whack. And what happens is, I always like to say, think of like you're going driving in like a very rural area and there's no network. That's what estrogen is. It's suddenly like you're going through, and its body's not getting that reception that it needed to just act the way it was. So beat your joints, beat your heart, beat your blood vessels, everything is supported by estrogen. And so suddenly we start seeing changes externally in forms of dry skin, and internally in form of the liquid. The same fluid is kind of like losing. So your joints, you hear the clicking and the cracking or tightness, and suddenly deeper level physiologically, you're losing that muscle mass that estrogen was helping build. You're losing that bone density because estrogen was supposed to build and kind of like take away the dead stuff. And that's not happening. So now we start losing the density because of that. So, why we need to build strength? The only way to build strength is to put stress on our body, which sounds
Mhm.
negative, but it's a good stress. It's the stress that the bones need, the stress that the muscle need by working on it. And that happens with strength training.
This is great. And I want to say, I feel like lately society is starting to embrace the fact that this is something we should be talking about. It used to be in polite society, we didn't talk about women aging and women going through menopause and changes that were happening. We would just talk and we would kind of joke with each other. We'd make funny sounds when we're getting up from the couch, ugh, and we'd hear our knees creak and things like that. Or, I remember working in corporate, there would be a couple of our leaders on our executive team, women that were wearing like, um, heavier suit jackets, and I remember them kind of like puffing it because they were going through hot flashes and things like that. But we would joke about things that are creaking and taking. And now we're like, we can actually do something about this. We can, like you said, we can add strength. Now, I was just in on my annual physical, and I brought up, my practitioner asked me a question. What are you doing in terms of exercise? And I said, well, I'm actually in a program, and it's focused on strength training. You should see her eyes light up. She was so excited about that. So tell us about the shift, because there's probably people that are watching like me that have been working out throughout their lives. At some extent, I'm not running marathons, but I've been trying to be physically fit. But the things I used to do aren't keeping me in shape quite like they used to. And now I'm having to do different things. So talk to us a little bit about why we're having to change to more strength
Right,
focused
right.
workouts or
So, we were in a society where cardio was all about like what our body needed, step aerobics and all different kind of spinning. And those are still good for our heart and a little bit of that emotional, boost that we get out of it. But like I said before, strength training is what loads or stresses our joints and muscle. So rather than going go, go, go on the cardio part, this phase of life is not about pushing through, it's about actually taking that pause and building. Because like I said, we've lost some stuff, or we're losing, as especially as menopause approaches. There's like a big spike in like 10 to 20% of all those hormonal changes that's going to happen. So this is the phase at 40 plus to 50 is where we can really push through, but it's still not late if you're like 40 plus. And rather than
Mhm.
pushing through, there's two concepts that's really important when we work on our muscles and our bones and joints is overload. And overloading is
Mhm.
you're doing less. So, like, I know we come with like we have to go for an hour of exercise class. And I
Yeah.
know so many
Yep.
of my patients in the past or clients would say, yeah, but this is not long enough. And that's the thing. It's not long, it's strategic. And if you understand the concept
Mhm.
of, okay, how that one exercise can solve that problem for that joint, that's enough. So, like overloading the muscle, but learning in the right way so you don't injure yourself, that's one. And then
Mhm.
finding that what we called as how many reps. You don't have to do too much, but you do have to come up with the right form or the right alignment that every exercise gives
Mhm.
you the most. So what happens is I just had something
Mhm.
put yesterday on my social media where this person, women, was doing a wrong exercise in a step aerobic class. And that's the thing. You could or could do so many different things. It might not be strategic to your body. And every exercise gives you something. It gives you, running is great for your body, but maybe not for your joints at one point in life, right? So if you
Mhm.
don't know how your estrogen levels are, how your hormonal changes are going on, you may be damaging them. So slowing down
Mhm.
and incorporating overloading, using little weights, not little weights. I take that back. I'm actually opposed to the pink and purple weights. I always say that. It should be
Yeah.
universal, one color, because there should not be differentiation that pink and purple are made for women. Pink and every color is made for
Mhm.
women and men. That's how I believe. But understanding what your body can handle is important in this
Yeah.
phase of life. So that's kind of where I will end this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me ask some questions. I've asked you these questions having now worked with you, and you're retraining my brain the way I think about it, and a few things that you've already addressed. So your workout doesn't need to be an hour of heavy cardio. I heard you say. Now I'm gonna ask you that, like, how long should our workouts be? But also, I want you to talk about, like, for me, I've been trained to think every workout I should be working up a sweat, and a great workout is one where I'm feeling soreness in my muscles either later on that day or the next day. If I don't achieve that, I'm like, oh, I could have done a little bit more. So, am I right or wrong on both accounts? Both the duration, working up a sweat, and then should our muscles be feeling sore in order for it to be a good workout? What
I'm
do
going
you
to
think?
address the second one first because I think it ties up. So the soreness is it's almost like getting like an A on your test. And I say that because
Mhm.
when our body is sore, we do understand that the body has worked on it. Now, sweat may or may not be associated with that because some people just don't sweat as much. Some people sweat more.
Mm,
So it depends on your metabolism. So working a sweat is only like you're pushing yourself too hard if your body is not like that. But soreness is a concept.
okay.
If you really load your muscles well, and there's another concept called failure, finding your failure. Like, is 30 pounds too much weight for me to do a bicep curl? If that is, and I can't do more than
Mhm.
one rep, that's my failure point. So maybe I need to work 20 to 29 pounds and get myself ready for that. The concept is called
Mhm.
delayed onset muscle soreness. It's called DOMS. And the effect of DOMS is the day after your workout, you will be sore. Maybe you can't even do stairs if you did a lot of squats. And
Right?
so
Yeah.
why did I do it? I shouldn't go and work out the next day. But the answer is you actually should, but maybe half of that load, half of that reps. And that's kind of where your body keeps going. That's the stress I was talking about in the early part of our conversation. The body needs the stress and the
Mm,
load. So to answer that question in two part, yes, you do need soreness because you know how your body feels. Now, if you do enough, if you do regular exercises, those same exercises may or may not feel sore. And so you need
mm,
flexibility, mobility to keep that, soreness can also come from tightness. And that's a whole different like
mm,
mobility conversation for that. But
mhm.
soreness is a good thing, but as you keep developing, you will have new sorenesses because you're loading your muscles more. That 30 pound of bicep curl, now I'm
Okay.
doing 40 pound of bicep curl. And that's why we keep progressing. So answer your question, how long? I am all about keep it a short, sweet session, break it into the whole week. But if you don't have time, maybe let's
Mhm,
just say you have only 3 times a week that you can do, then it becomes a longer session. It's not about 1 hour
mhm.
sessions, it's about 5 or 7 exercises that you constantly learn to load and reach failure, develop that strength, develop that bone density, and that's it. So it doesn't have to be too long.
Okay.
Long answer short.
Okay, that's good. So related to that, and we're on LinkedIn here today. LinkedIn's my main network. This is going to go on YouTube, and this will go on my podcast later. And people are like, "Why am I listening to these people talking about fitness and working out and weights and sweating and things like that?" So share with me, if you could, what do you think is the link between being healthy, feeling strong, and career and business success? Where do you see that kind of tying together?
I think as a professional, we need to feel good in our bodies inside out. How we show up outside is how we feel inside. And what really keeps us going inside is our physical and emotional state, how our well being is. And that ties in is how well you take care of yourself. So one of the things,
Yeah.
not just physiologically, that exercise boosts up all the good hormones and your endorphins, your the way you react to situations and how you handle stress, everything is interrelated to that. But not only that, how I feel, how I dress up, how I show up in society, on
Hmm.
screen, as a professional, I think that all relates to how I take care of myself. So that just shows up on your face. You don't have to prep for it. That's a natural inner boost that human beings are capable of. And every woman, every man for that matter, every person who's, in any kind of profession needs to first starts with your I, like I am good at
Hmm.
this, and then I'm successful at everything else. But more for women, because we have just so many responsibilities. We are not only just
Yeah.
professional, we also take care of our family. We also take care probably a sandwich generation where we have older aging parents, we have younger kids,
Hmm.
we have our spouses. So we're just doing so many roles. If you don't take care of your self, that affects your energy level. That affects your energy level. It affects
Yeah.
your performance. It affects your performance. It affects how you show up to work. And if you're self-employed, it's even more important because you have to
Hmm.
put yourself up first on top of like your fitness goals, with your work
Right.
goals. It's just a part of the puzzle in a way. And if you don't address that one puzzle, if you're emotionally not strong, you're
Hmm.
physically not strong, it will show up in how you work and how you show up to work.
Yeah, totally agree. There's so many things that you are just addressing right now is like thinking through my mind. And I've been in your program for um, a few months now and really learning a lot of the techniques from you. And I want to share maybe two things. I'm going to put you on the spot for one of these, which is, I'm a mom. I've got two kids. My son's turning 21 this Saturday. I know I'm 1-year-old, but be that as it may, I've got a 21-year-old and a 14-year-old, and I've talked to you in your program about having a soft middle, and that's always been my problem area. I've always wanted to have good tight abs, and we had a conversation about that. But there's one thing you said during one of our sessions together, our group sessions, and it was like how I'm carrying, like our when we're pregnant as women, our body kind of starts carrying differently. Like it almost tips everything forward. And I remember you saying this, and since you've said this, I don't know if I've even shared this with you. I've noticed and I'm catching myself how am I carrying myself? And I've noticed that I'm now consciously pulling my abs back in, so I'm tipping where my cage should be, so to speak. And you said this in your workouts as well. So can you share with our audience? This is like a bit of an impromptu. Can you walk us through
Yeah,
that
yeah,
technique
and
of the abs?
that is very huge, and I'm glad you remember that because I'm all about like I say enough that it annoys, but it like just sticks to everyone, right? So think about two scenarios. One, if a woman is pregnant, or if a woman wears a lot of heels, like high heels, all right?
Yeah. Okay.
What happens is our pelvis positioning changes. So, if you imagine our pelvis is supposed to be here and kind of like tips forward. When
Mhm.
it tips forward, it puts a lot of pressure on your lumbar spine or your back.
Mhm.
Now, if you go back to women who are pregnant, their ribs also flares up. So because of the way they're carrying and the new space that's created, all of that post pregnancy, and even if you've never had kids, again, like that example of wearing high heels, it's kind of like similar situation. So two things can
Mhm.
happen in this scenario. One, you will be associated, or you will always have a chronic back pain because it
Yeah.
puts too much pressure on your lower back. Now, if you can, the second one is you will just not have a hard time reducing that belly, which eventually, because of menopause, goes
Right.
into that high visceral fat. Women are just like more accustomed to that. And then we call it the meno belly, right? So it looks like
Mhm.
you always have that little meno pouch and you have that belly, and we just
Right.
can't get rid of it. And all of that, the short, quick change, long term is obviously working on your ab muscles and separating your upper ab, lower ab, obliques, and all of that. The short, quick fix is you find what I call is the deep core muscle, that's your transverse abdominis muscle, which stabilizes your spine. Now,
Mhm.
suddenly, if you can correct your tailbone, which is what I always say, like tuck your tailbone in, you corrected that forward to back. So your back almost looks like a flat back. The
Mhm.
moment you do that, and it almost looks like you're sucking your belly in. That's what I always
Yeah.
say, tuck your belly, tuck your belly. But we're not tucking our belly. Again, going back to the 70s, you're like living life like tugged in so much
Yeah.
that you shorten the muscle, you affect, all of the other stuff, intra-abdominal pressure, and your breathing gets affected, other stuff happens, but just
Mhm.
enough that it's activated. It's like this light switch I always say. Like back in the day, you were going on old, like in the mall, and you go in the bathroom, you have to switch your light on. So basically, you have to tuck your belly, remind your belly that you need to be activated, you need to be strong. But
Right.
nowadays, in modern malls, we walk in and the automatic lights off. Come on.
Yeah.
And that, if you do the tuck in your belly and keep your core engaged, that becomes your automatic bathroom. And I always like this analogy because I think it makes sense to people. Yes, we don't need to switch on the light anymore, almost, most of the places. And that muscle group is such an important muscle for how your back is, how your pelvis is,
Hmm.
basically how your torso is. And if that one thing you can take away from today's conversation, just any exercise, it can
Hmm.
change how your body looks.
I've noticed it, and it's such a small thing. Even as she was talking, I'm going to address something next, which is I'm at a standing desk, and I'm going to put you on the spot with this other question I asked you when we first started working together. But right now I'm at a standing desk, and as she was saying, tick, I'm doing it, and I'm noticing my abs are feeling activated, but not in a way that's like painful. It's actually relieving pressure on my lower back. Which, oh my gosh, what she just said, that all makes sense. It's all being processed here. So I'm going to ask you the question because there's probably people that are watching on this, whether they're watching it live or playback or on the podcast, and they, like me, may have a standing desk. I very rarely used it, but I was talking to someone recently, Natalie Benamou. I don't know if you know Natalie, but she has a standing desk, and I was having a conversation with her, and I said, "How often do you use it?" And she's like, "I use it every day." And I'm like, "Well, don't you get tired from standing?" And I asked you the question because I started using it after talking to Natalie. And I want you to share with our audience, if you're using a standing desk, what's your advice for how long we should use it before sitting, or should we be using it all the time? What are your thoughts there?
So, yeah, there are few things. The longer you do, it's going to affect your posture because our muscles are going
Mhm.
to get tired. That's like the short, quick answer, right? So,
Mhm.
the soft spot is 60 to 90 minutes, not
Mhm.
extending 90 minutes. So, the best way I tell clients or patients is switch every 90 minutes if 90 minutes is good enough. Like if I'll say what's comfortable. This is like my book, What You Can Do. The comfortable is 30 minutes. Now, 30
Mhm.
minutes is hard because everyone, especially your audience who are like self employed, they're on meetings all the time.
Right.
Most of the meetings run an hour. You're not going to like stand up and then
I'm
sit
like,
down.
hold on a second. I got to move my desk.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
so that's why 60 minute is the soft spot. If you have a good posture, if you don't have any pain, aches, it could be your foot, your knee, your back that can start to hurt. And so
Mhm.
every 30 minute would be ideal if you ask me. 60 minute is doable, 90 minute is stretch. And
Okay.
I think everybody, so that's why 60 minute people can change. The next meeting can be seated. My
Mhm.
my favorite thing, if you have ever been my client, you know that go stretch in between your meetings because then
Right.
your body just like is ready for that next, and you've not overdone standing or you've
Mhm.
not overdone sitting, because either ways it's going to affect your body in the long run in a bad way, because we
Yeah.
should be moving more than standing and we should definitely not be sitting. So that kind of is how the breakdown is.
That's great advice, and I started doing that, like, once you told me that, and now I'm like, now I don't feel guilty because I feel like Natalie was doing it all day, and I was noticing I'm getting tired, my back is getting tired, my legs are getting tired, and then you told me that, I'm like, "Oh, every 90 minutes." So, I will if I'm not moving my desk from standing to sitting, I am going for a walk with Pepper, or I'm taking a break, I'm getting out from behind my desk. Some mornings, what I do, Pretty, is I'll be at the standing desk all morning, and then to the afternoon, I move to sitting. So I'm switching back, but I'm still taking those breaks in between. Now I'm seeing. I asked if anyone has any comments or questions to drop them in chat. I am seeing a lot of people talking about the cold right now. Pam is joining us from really cold Michigan. Carrie's in Arizona. I'm sure it's not cold in there as well, but Linda's joining us from Chicago, where it's really cold as well. Pretty, it's hard to get outside and go to the gym, and even the act of like getting into workout mode, it's really hard for us. So any advice for us when the weather is cold? Where do we get that motivation from to get out and get active? What would you say?
And hi from Michigan. I used to live in Michigan, so I have a soft spot for Michigan. I lived there for like 7 years, and I live in New Jersey, so it's very cold here too today,
Yeah.
especially. So I'm a big on. I say there's 6 to 7 fundamental exercise everybody should do, no matter what. If you want to live 90 and 100 and be healthy, because you could live 90 and health that
Mhm.
100, but you may or may not be active and healthy and independent. And I actually have like 397-year-olds right now. They're all active and walking and doing everything, which is what I pursue. Everybody should be able to do it. So
Yeah.
the one exercise, especially everyone who has a sedentary job, self-employed, they're sitting in front, they have all these projects they have to finish, is squats. And it's
Mm.
really not squats like in the gym squats. Think of chair, sit to stand.
Mm.
All you have to do is stand up, go tap your butt to the chair and come back up and do 10 of
Mm.
those, right?
Okay.
So
Mhm.
let's see, I always say you're reading or you're on a voice call, maybe not a video call, and then you can do that while you're on the call. So that's one, right?
Yeah.
This the second one I always say is add some kind of stretch to it, but you could
Mm.
always, you can grab a water bottle and you can start going up and down, like something simple, but your upper body stretches, our upper
Mhm.
body strength. Think about you in your 60s and trying to put a suitcase over in the airplane.
Yeah, like,
That's
in
the
the
most.
overhead without asking
Yes.
somebody to help you with it, right?
Exactly. And that's a
Mhm.
big thing. And that is such an easy exercise. But I love overhead movements because it's not just mobility. Because unless
Mhm.
you're an electrician or a plumber, you're never going to reach overhead mostly, right? We
Yeah.
try to keep things in our reach. So it works on mobility and strength. So whatever you have next to you, keep some dumbbells next to you, keep water bottles, filled
Ooh, I like
water
that.
bottles next to you,
Mhm.
right? And then just stand up and do some leg kicks backwards and sideways.
Yeah.
And Brenda's been in my program, so you know it. I'm big on it. I love the booty begins, and I just like try to. But if you're doing standing on your desk and working on things, just doing some side leg kicks and back leg kicks is so amazing
Mhm.
because walking muscles are your glute muscles, your back muscles, your butt muscles. To
Yeah.
keep them active and strong, it just not is an active workout. It actually will help you with any future or current back pain. So it's really like takes away the injury part. It
Mhm.
helps you with strength part. So
Mhm.
between like I said, the squats, the overhead for upper body, some leg kicks, you're good if you can't even go. And I think it gets your cardio doing going up too, right? The
Yeah.
squats are one of the most wonderful exercise.
Yeah. So I see Carrie saying 65 is still cold for I get it, Carrie, because in Arizona you have like really, really hot days and 65 can be a bit brisk. It's all relative. I get that. And she also mentioned she gets so involved in her work, she forgets to move. It's about mindset and building a routine. And I think that's important. I think about for me, pretty, there's two times of the day what's the best time for me to work out. First thing in the morning, after I'm done walking the dog, of course. Or I actually find like later afternoon, like 3 to 5 when I'm reaching my energy low, but I think it's really important to establish the routine. In your program, you have like we do a workout together and then we have to do it 2 other times during the week, but you try to get us to commit to when are we going to do that. So talk to us about the importance because there might be people watching, they're like, "Okay, I need to do this." Talk to us about the importance of a routine and how do we figure out what time of day is going to work best for us? What would you
So
say?
I'll address the what time of day best, and I will connect that to women over 40, perimenopause, menopause. And the reason is our energy levels are different, right?
Mhm.
You and I may have a totally different body, and I may want to, I'm more active in the morning, I'm more active later in the day. But if you are self employed, here's a little tip. I like to see if you have longer days. If you are, let's say you work 3 or 4 times a week and you have really long days, try to break it and do it in the midday. And the reason is, again, we just talked about it. It not only boosts your hormones, your energy levels, everything, that the second half of the day also becomes very productive rather
Mm.
than doing at the end of the day. So that's my little like kind of
Okay.
caveat. Don't wait till the end of the day where your energy levels are dropped and you're not able to push through a lot.
Mm.
So if you could have done that 10 pound, you're probably going to stick with 2 pounds because you're like, I don't want to do. If you could have done 30-minute exercise, you're probably going to do 10-minute exercise. So that's one reason.
Yeah.
Um, and then building routine is really having an accountability support. And that's what we do in our program, right? Where
Mhm.
we're just constantly supporting each other. Find a person, find a buddy, and the least you could do is put it on your phone. Just
Yeah.
have it on the phone that Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 12 o'clock, before lunch, I'm going to go work out, come back. And even if it looks like basically standing next to your standing desk or sitting and
Yeah.
then doing few exercises, even that kind of start. I heard someone say that if I don't want to do it, I still do one of that because
Mhm.
I don't want that break. So that's so important because once we have a routine where we go, we'll do it tomorrow, the tomorrow becomes next week becomes next month becomes next year. But
Yeah.
if we go just one rep, 5 minutes every day, suddenly your body will start to ask more. Your brain will create that space for more, and you will start giving yourself more time. And that's the mental shift I think we can really work on.
Yeah, that's such a point. I'm gonna bring my weights in here. I'm gonna ask for some more for the holidays, some heavier weights that I can use in my office. But when I'm taking my 60-minute, 90-minute break, I'm gonna probably start doing some reps here and there. I'm gonna ask you two. Well, I'm gonna share with you one story, but I want to ask you a question before that as well. In our workout this week, we were doing some exercises which involve side lunges. My one side was fine, and the other side, I was like, "Well, that's weird. My knee is clicking. It didn't hurt, but I said my knee is clicking." And it didn't hurt, but I'm like, should I be worried about that? Can you share with us, there's probably someone who's listening who's like, yeah, I get clicking knees or clicking shoulders when I'm working out, when I'm walking. What did you tell me and what would you share with others?
Yeah, and I actually took advantage of that the case scenario and I added that in my newsletter yesterday because
I
I was
saw
like,
that.
oh,
I'm like, you can use me. She's showing me with like blurred out picture of my dog Peppers like working out. I'm fine with it. But yeah, tell us the story.
yeah. So people don't think about it. And, again, knee just kind of is like a door, right? It has a hinge motion, it goes up and down, and different joints play different roles. But just specific to knee, we don't, when we have knee pain, we think of knee as knee, but knee is connected to your hip, it's connected to your ankle, hip is connected to your back. And so all of this plays a role. So what I really kind of addressed when Brenda was doing this and she kind of shared it, I'm like, oh, and I know because we work together that personally, I know that she has a back history. So I suddenly
Mhm.
connected that, being aware of what it is. I was like, oh, it's your back butt muscle called piriformis.
Yep.
And the piriformis is connected to your hip joint. Your hip
Mhm.
joint has these two muscles, and the tightness around there, it can connect to your knee, which can pull your kneecap on the outside. And then the kneecap is really not in the center for anybody who's watching this. Suddenly that shift, the joints are not in place and they're going to click. And I know it was probably an aha moment and or like, what is she saying? But if we knew it, the answer was very simple that you literally just had to massage or whatever kind of soft tissue
Right.
release your muscles, maybe a foam roller massage your leg, and then you would have fixed it. It might have taken one day or a couple weeks to depending on how chronic that was,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
But somebody would have never done that exercise or avoided lunges because, oh my God, every time I do this exercise, I hurt. But the answer is we gotta go fix it, make it better, do it less, and then eventually reach the natural, exercise limit.
Yeah. I love it. And what I learned from being in your program as well, I work out at the gym. I work out at Edge and they have group classes and there's usually 20 or 30 of us inside the class and the instructor is leading us through the class. What the instructor is not doing is saying, Brenda, you need to correct your form because you're not doing it right. Or if I'm saying, hey, my knee is clicking, I can't ask the instructor, excuse me, my knee is clicking. I can't do that in a group of 30 women, but it's really a great thing for you. And I want to end with the last story, and then I want to ask you a little bit about your business as well. But that is, you said block time in your calendar. And I'm going to give a shout out to my friend Annette. We meet on an accountability call every Wednesday. And I recently learned one of the instructors at my gym offers a class on Wednesday mornings at 9:30. So I was talking to my friend Annette and I said, do you mind if we move to a different day? Because I want to go to this woman's class. She's amazing. She's the one who makes me feel sore the next day. And Annette's like, absolutely. So I've been inspired by you and the things I've done in your program. I want to continue on. It's also a strength training program. But I'm starting to do that and during my workday. And that's one of the benefits of being self-employed. We can make our own schedules and we can decide to your point from earlier when we have energy to do so. So, Pretty, as we start to wind down our conversation here today, first I want to ask, are you open to connecting with people here on LinkedIn? And if so, any instructions for them?
No, I would love for people to connect. And if you have any questions, send me a message. If you actually joined after listening this, so give a shout out to Brenda and let me know you connected so I know how we know each other. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I'm going to spell it out in case those are listening on the podcast. I'll put the link in the show notes as well. But it's Dr. Preeti Jha, so it's PreetiJha. And again, I'll have her LinkedIn URL that are in comments there as well. And finally, Dr. Preeti, if there's someone who's interested in working with you or continuing on this journey, tell us a bit about the offerings and services that you have and where we can go to learn more.
Sure. So I have a signature program which Brenda was part of, known Strength Shift, where my goal is to not just help you shift physically and be your strongest self, but also have that mental shift of understanding what your body needs, and it needs for longevity, so you age gracefully. It's an 8-week transformational program that we, kind of work together very closely, live calls, and I basically know everything about your body. It's not just like a group class and you're doing stuff together. You're actually working on your body while we
Mhm.
are together. And then I'm going to have a vision board party so we can align and make some goals, which is in few weeks. It's on my LinkedIn, so if anybody wants to join that, come out and we'll have a party together.
Wonderful. So the website that we should go to is at the purerehabyoga.com. Did I get that right? And I'm gonna try to I learned this recently that within Restream, I'm trying to type and talk at the same time here. We can add a QR code up on screen. So I'm going to try to do this right
Oh,
now. So this is your
okay.
website. It's up above me. I don't think I can change the position in Restream, unfortunately. But if you
Yeah.
scan that QR code, it should take you to purerehabyoga.com. And I will put the link inside show notes for those that are interested in checking that out as well. So Preeti,
Yeah.
thank you so much. This is a great conversation. Any final thoughts for us on strength strategies for women 40 plus as we wrap up today?
Um, Super important thing, even if you've never exercised, it's easy to start. A lot of people hesitate because they just were never exercise people, but you know what, it is important for you, it's important for your body. Doesn't matter which phase of life you're in, which phase of business you're in, your body is going to decline no matter what. Your business,
Mhm.
I'm not saying take a step back on your business, but just have that 30 minutes. We have that 30 minutes in our life for sure. We all do. Once you start to make that time, you're going to be so happy 20, 30, 40 years from now.
Mhm.
And don't wait for tomorrow. Just start today.
Yeah, I love it. And I shared this with you. I don't remember who the person was, but there's a trainer that I follow on Instagram, and she has merch. And one of the t-shirts she sells, it says training for my old lady body. And the jig is up for me. I mean, I'm married, I've got kids, like I'm done with all of that. Now I'm training for my old lady body because I don't want to be the type of person who is held back from physical activity as I age. I want to continue to be successful in my business, which is why I came to you and joined your program as well. So, Preeti, I just want to say thank you so much for all the work that you do, and thank you for coming on the show with me here today.
Thank you for having me. Such a pleasure.
Yeah, likewise. Well, I want to invite our audience as we are wrapping up our conversation here today. If you enjoyed this show today, I'd love it if you could share this video along as soon as you're done watching it. Tag myself and Preeti in the post when you do so. That way, we'll comment back and we'll thank you for sharing it along. And maybe share with us something that you felt was particularly helpful. Well, whether it was about the standing desk or using weights or just getting active or training for your old lady body, whatever you felt resonated with you. It's a really great technique if you have not yet posted on LinkedIn this week, this month, or even this year. No time like the present. It's a really great thing to do. With that said, I wish everyone a wonderful rest of the day and stay warm wherever in the world that you are from. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.